Through all of this, a few things have gotten swept under the rug, so I'm just gonna pretend like we don't see any of that. Okay. Okay.
Cook it.
You know what sucks?
You have nothing to put on too.
I'm gonna have to weld my ground to the framing or something.
We actually are gonna be repainting the house. We haven't talked about that yet.
We've had a huge issue with these Japanese beetles destroying our fruit trees and roses. Get them, girls.
A lot of the drywall is messed up just from like coming off and putting back on, and then the dogs, and what are you gonna do, right?
Baby, don't you understand that we only get one life? I wanna make it count, honey. Come on now and take my hand.
Over the past few weeks, we have tackled taking down the walls, adding more insulation,
I think we're ready.
putting those walls back up, and then just finishing out little details so we can really start working on the meat and bones of this container house. Through all of this, a few things have gotten swept under the rug, so that's what we're going to be accomplishing today.
We have quite the list. So we have to weld the hole by the AC, the drywall behind the AC, drywall around the sliding glass door, finish the ceiling drywall at the end of the living room, paint the window frames, put that drywall back up, and then mud and tape everything. And if we have time, finish this flooring underlayment.
Quite the list of things that we need to accomplish today, so we're going to get started on it.
First, we're going to start off with fixing this hole in the wall from where our AC lines used to run. So if you remember way back a long time ago, our AC lines used to run straight out the house and then around the sliding door and down to the unit. We ended up running the lines all through the wall right here, and we were left with the hole from where it was before. We're going to cut a piece of metal to fit that, put it in place, and weld it all together.
We had to pull out the big ladder so that way he has something to set the AC on. Please excuse all of the cabinets and mess that is in our house. There's only so much you can do whenever you live and build in the same place. Since our bottom cabinets are not installed, they are pushed over here in the corner, and we're just gonna pretend like we don't see any of that. Okay.
Also, can they see this?
Yeah.
So I don't know if it was the last video or the video before, maybe it was the shelving video, I don't know.
I don't know.
I realized we had talked about why we did our exhaust for the fireplace the way we did it and it can go straight through the ceiling, and then we never explained why. We moved the TV over here.
Yeah.
So the reason we did it that way is so that way we could have the TV over here if we wanted above the fireplace, you know, it's more aesthetically pleasing, and then we could also put a little mantle in and, you know, just make it look nicer. So. Hold on, I have to get up there.
I don't know if I'm
I'll
tall
take your
enough.
time.
I'm not tall enough. Oh, okay.
Bucket. Sorry, I got your hair a tiny bit, I'm not gonna lie.
That's okay. You can't see it, but we have a bucket because we knew this was going to happen. Typically there's a drain, however we're taking it down, so only so much you can do.
Being that we're in the back of the house, we're not really near an outlet that's a 20 amp outlet, and I don't want to run a ton of extension cords along, so we're going to go ahead and use the Blue Eddy to run the welder. That way we have our power right here and we don't have a bunch of voltage drop over the extension cord. And I'm sure y'all remember, typically we have this thing in the nice beautiful cart that we built for it, but unfortunately the four-wheeler needs a carburetor right now. I drove it over in front of the house to load my tools up yesterday, and as I'm sitting there loading, I'm like, kind of smells like gas right now. And then I look under the four-wheeler and it's just pouring out of the carburetor. So, yep, gonna have to replace that. You know what sucks?
You have nothing to put on too.
I'm gonna have to weld my ground to the framing or something. Be a good time to have one of those really strong magnetic ground things.
I thought we have one.
I mean, we have a magnet, but they make like a special end cable that's a magnet itself.
Just welded onto the house. Oh well, no biggie.
Take some paint off though.
It's okay. We actually are going to be repainting the house. We haven't talked about that yet. That's a story for another day, but we are going to be repainting the house.
Yeah, not that there's anything wrong with it. We've just discovered some newer technology that we would like to incorporate. So you'll find out more later. So basically my point to that is it's not really that big of a deal if he messes up the paint on the house because it's going to get repainted here pretty soon. As to be expected with welding, we have a little bit of burnt spray foam, but we can just touch that up.
Typically, when you do things in somewhat of the correct order, you wouldn't have things like burnt spray foam, but if you haven't learned around here, we don't always have the opportunity to do everything in the correct order, whether it's budget, time, weather. Some things just don't get done, and that's okay. So by adding a little bit more insulation, it's not a big deal. Also, as you can tell, spray foam is fire resistant. So if it wasn't, the entire house would have caught on fire, but it pretty much puts itself out almost immediately, and then you can just crust it away.
adding on to spray foam like with a can or something like that is actually super easy. It's almost like welding. You kind of just weave back and forth and then it'll stick to the spray foam that's currently there. Or metal or whatever. I mean, it sticks to a lot of different types of surfaces. This is a small cavity right here, so I pretty much just filled the entire thing with this can of spray foam. That way I don't have to go find some fiberglass for this one little section. It's full of spray foam now. It's gonna be way better insulated than if I put fiberglass in there.
And then I know we've gotten a few questions on what kind of spray foam we use for our home, and that would be closed cell spray foam. So open cell spray foam is just that. It's open to air, it's open to moisture, more things can get in there versus closed cell is super durable, especially when you have a container house, which container houses are known for having condensation issues. You definitely want to use a closed cell spray foam because it gives it that vapor barrier and prevents condensation from being able to seep in.
All right, first thing off the list completed, which is welding the hole in the side of the container. I just have the AC set up kind of like in a temporary position of where it's going to sit on the wall. That way I can make sure that the condensate drain is working correctly and it's draining properly before we drywall everything, and also make sure nothing's leaking. That's pretty much what I'm doing now, as well as waiting for the spray foam to finish curing. Here in a couple minutes, I guess whenever that's done, we'll go ahead and start drywalling. While we wait on the spray foam to cure, let's go give the girls a snack. Beetles. We've had a huge issue with these Japanese beetles destroying our fruit trees and roses and pretty much all the things we actually spent money on. I bought a bunch of these traps and started hanging them up. Originally I thought it was going to be like a fly trap where like you put stuff in water and then, you know, the bugs just kind of drown in it, but these like just smell and then the bugs fly in and get caught. The bugs aren't getting any kind of chemicals or anything like that, so I figured I'd look up and see if the chickens could eat it, and come to find out they love Japanese beetles. So we've been feeding them to them over the past couple weeks, and it's been a great way to offset the cost of their feed.
So basically the scent is up here and they come and drop down, so nothing's actually getting on them. There's just clean, ready to go beetles right for the girls.
And they love them.
Add water so that way the bugs don't fly out.
Yeah, originally I would just pour them in the pan, and then I actually saw it on TikTok a couple weeks later of another guy that does this, and he would pour water in their pan first so that way the bugs can't fly away, and it works a lot better.
As you can see, they love them.
Get them, girls. Typically the bag is completely full about once a day, but it actually rained yesterday, so I think they're not quite as active today. They go crazy for them.
They're pretty much already gone.
Mm-hmm. I'm sorry, that's it. I'll bring you more later. Spray foam is solid, so I'm gonna start working on drywall.
All right, drywall behind the AC is now completed, so we're gonna mark that off the list. Next is going to be all of the drywall around the sliding glass door. Once that's done, we'll be able to mud and tape. But we are going to be taking eggs to Cody's grandmother, so let's take a little pause, collect our eggs, and go drive out. Since we don't have a kitchen, I haven't really been able to utilize our own eggs, so I've been saving cartons. That way I can give them to her because I know that they will eat them every single morning.
Appalachian sunrise meets my skin. Even with my eyes still closed, I can feel it coming in. Golden, I'll follow them. in spring. Rainbow trout and hummingbird. Golden.
See you later, Mom.
Still trying to attack you.
Golden, golden things. Gold hair, gold rings, gold leaves, gold anything, golden. I'll follow only golden.
We just left Cody's grandmother's and I didn't want to film too much, obviously, for their privacy, but look at all of these egg cartons that she saved us. So we asked her to start saving egg cartons whenever we first got chickens, and she sure did get the job done. So now we will never need egg cartons again. So thank you, grandmother.
Walk up the river by my son. Feet step over splinters of the moon.
Final thing over here before we can start mudding and taping is we're gonna finish the drywall around the door.
It looks so good. I feel like that little bit of drywall made all of the difference. And a lot of the drywall is messed up just from like coming off and putting back on, and then the dogs and mud and rain and all of that. What are you gonna do, right? It's gonna be eventually pretty much all covered up in one way or another. I want to like rock one wall, shiplap another wall, potentially do some wallpaper on another wall. So overall, you're really never gonna be able to see all of the imperfections on the wall, so I'm not too worried about it.
So the drywall around the sliding door's done. Now for the last piece of the ceiling drywall. Ceiling drywall is finished.
I don't know why we thought we'd be able to get every single thing done on our list before bed, but that's obviously not the case.
Yeah, it looks like we're gonna be doing the windows first thing in the morning before it gets hot.
Yeah, I guess if we try to do them right now, then a bunch of bugs would like flood into our house.
Oh yeah,
so
that'd be terrible.
We can't really take them out and paint, so I guess we'll see in the morning.
Someday, baby, don't you understand?